Oh man, well they've only got 3 games left to do it, so guys, let's turn it back over to our casters to get into game number 4 on the day.
But can you be consistently hype? I believe so. We have the boys overly hype. I am going to be triply hype, if that is such a thing. But what a great start here, Sundown. This is game 4 out of the first frame of 6. Tomorrow we're going to have 6 more games, all totaling up to 12. But what an unbelievable game here from Queasy Milan and Chapix. I mean, they have the best 3-game stretch in EU with about an average placement of 2nd place, 84 points. And after the 3 games last week, the first place team only had 69 in day 1. So this team is setting a strong pace here in day 1 of week 2.
And the big difference being the fact they got that second and then the second place in the first game and then first place in the most recent game as well. We talked about just how much those placement points add up. So while they're in second in terms of average eliminations, just from the fact that they've made every single one of the end games, I mean, their worst placement is 4th so far. They're playing incredibly well, but Chapix leading out in terms of the slaying power. And they're just doing a good job of creating space right away, utilizing what is in Craggy, getting as many fish and kind of those excess heals. And what it's enabled them to do is save utility for the key moments late game, so they go and challenge height and make plays.
At the same time as well as you have a really great rotational items with the rifts. They could go. It could kind of sip. We saw iDrop do the same thing in week 1, where he was hitting multiple rifts, that trio, and getting himself to dead center. It'd be interesting to see if Milan and Chapix and Queasy decide to third party, because we know that people at Craggy Cliffs have that option, and they also have the option as well to third party into Stark Industries, right? So that is the great flexibilities that you have there. And as always, when you're having a easy landing, a smooth landing into your drop spot, you're going to have some great results. But as you're seeing, some more fights are breaking out here. We have another new trio into this week 2. That's Anilix. And a lot of people, a lot of casting, we're hoping that they have a better start here in day 1.
And right now, it seems like he's actually just getting run off by Kiko, Grande, and Slender. Don't forget, this is match number 4 here in EU. I'm Sundown, joined by Sancho West. This is the best of the best. We're about a third of the way through. And what you can see right now, because this is match 4 and we're just at break, we did skip a little bit of the way in, so already 6 trios have gone down, but you can see the utility being burned, some shockwaves to try and disengage, and generally that signals danger. You can see trying to build up and get clear of the second shockwave. Slender, however, going to send himself over the top and get the floor replaced right away. So this solo looks like he's eventually going to be cleaned up, and there it goes, Andalex, and that's going to be the full trio wipe, not getting knocked down there. So we talked about them kind of being newcomers, getting just short last week, but unfortunately not really able to find their footing so far today. Only one really even decent performance out of them.
And this squad right here, Kiko, Slender, and Grande, are sitting at 15th place going into this. What they're playing for is a chance to go into the heats. It's the top 15 that move on to the next wave of games there. So that is going to be a number that we're going to keep an eye on. Throughout the entire broadcast, we'll do our best to let you know who is in danger, but this is just the opening moments. Tomorrow is a whole other slate of 6 games, and that is when we've seen, the changes in the leaderboard. We saw a lot of people from the back of the pack kind of make their movement to the middle of the pack. We saw big names who started off really hot and really well slide on down, not qualifying, like Benji coming in at 16th place. And Benji's day is not looking good today. We're taking a look at the leaderboards. They're at the bottom half of 26. It's so interesting, though, Sundown. 25th place, Noah Riley, Aqua and Reason. 26th place, Benji, Mr. Savage, and Lechi. So we're seeing Doom's Domain could be kind of, we like the highlight, we like the fights and all that. We like the harpoon, we like the highlights. But all that fighting will get you in trouble from qualifying.
I'm going to throw this out there. I don't enjoy that early game fighting. Only because, yes, we see the early game fight, and it's cool, but we've seen that how many times out of them, and because of that early game fight, effectively, we don't get either of those 6 players in the end game on a consistent basis. And I think those 6 players are some of the most exciting players to watch, especially if you're not named Tayson, Mitro, or Mongrel. Basically, if you're not on that trio, the individual efforts, and maybe add Thomas HD into that conversation based off of how he played last week. But if you're not in that trio, kind of the other best 6 individually mechanic players are all coming out of Dooms. But if they're all wrapped up there and not getting outside of the fight, they're not making it into endgame, and we don't get to see kind of that super awesome stuff. So while the initial boxing fight is fun, I would much rather see them get a concerted game plan, get together, and get your teams into the exciting part of the game, in my eyes.
And this is an exciting trio in 3rd place right now, having some great games so far, with 5 elim average coming in a top 6 average. And that consistency, as Reese was talking about, is going to be so huge going forward. And now we're having some nice eyes down going into that, and we of course going to do our best to keep it track. We'll give you some replays and see what's happening. And let's take a look what happened over there at Doom's Domain to see how Benji did. You kind of mentioned it, those early fights, not something you may like, but I got a taste. Let's get a taste of that, what's going down over there.
Yeah, we're going to see it here just in a bit. As we pop on over is Noah, Aqua, and you can see Raison back on the side. You can see already probably a little bit more of a concerted effort here from them. You can see a little bit closer and a shockwave right away, and this is what we talked about them having to do, is to close in on these fights right away in a 2v1. But then what ends up happening, now it's a 3v2, and Lecce, I don't think, is holding any of those shockwaves over on the side. So if Aqua and Co are able to close out this fight off of the start before Lecce can effectively add support, it is a 3v2. However, you can see that Savage and Benji are doing a better job of kind of isolating out these individual 1v2s and really not giving them a chance to kind of lock down. But the moral of the story, again, is look how many hard mats they're burning. And all of these players are good enough to force you kind of out from this fight and to force you to burn through all of this to the point where then turn around and farm it back up. Not only is there not that much available metal there where they can waste all of this and then refarm it, it just takes forever and everyone looks to rotate through. You see Noah Riley try and go up onto the high ground with his shockwave. He gets taken out. He was a little too far away from Raison, and now he's the one in a 2v1.
And I have to point this out. Noah Riley, Aqua, and Raison are already qualified. They're already in. This is just practice for them at this point, and they're practicing when a big factor that Benji didn't qualify. So all this stuff, these are great reps for Aqua, Raison, and Noah Riley to see what they could do, maybe they could experiment a little. They could go in the lab. They could figure out how Lecce and Benji are going to react to this, because everyone's expecting this matchup to be at the end of the month, Sundown.
Is there, I'm sure there's probably a 3v3 realistic Dooms map out there in creative somewhere. But these guys, these guys need to drill this. I'm watching this fight, and the amount of opportunities to isolate 1v2s here and to be able to close these fights, I don't feel like these guys are taking the early game fights well. Benji and Lecce will eventually close it out, but there's no real kind of decisive sense of like, hey, this guy's alone, you get on that side, I can go. It's like, hey, we can bring 3 people to this side. They use the utility off of the start, but it's just not clean enough. We need better, particularly like we boast about these guys being the best trios in the world and doing it better. They're not closing out these early game fights like I would expect them to do and like we've seen in seasons past. And I don't know if it's a kind of getting the chemistry together thing, because Benji and Savage has played together a tons of times. Lecce's been in and out of it. I'm not sure what's going on.
And you saw right there in that stat, it is 7-3 favor of Reason's trio. And that is just a span of basically 2.5 or 2.25 of games that we have here in the FNCS trios here in Chapter 2, Season 4. And making this first time appearance, it looks like we're going to have a Coral Castle maybe ending, and you're seeing a lot of these slow rotations that's happening through where the passive rotations are happening, the use of swimming. You have to be careful, though. You could get seen and you could get isolated there, but 4CR picks up another elim. So Kiko, Slender, and Grande sitting just on the cusp, a bubble team at the moment. I know we're kind of calling it a little bit early, saying the top 15, but when you're in this, like, pack, you do not want to slip on down. You don't want to lose that momentum, Sundown, not at all.
Yeah, and it's always good to keep in mind of what the pace is and what you care about as a viewer. Don't forget, during these qualifier rounds, there still is some money on the line. Most of the pot, however, going to kind of the finals over there. But what you can see, the teams trying to kind of get whatever space they can. And I honestly think that the fishing, we talked about a little earlier, the fishing spots have been underutilized since kind of the boat and the missile fishing ended up getting fixed over there. But if you're able to get some harpoons early on and kind of get to the outside, it's very much still a viable route. As you can see, Snap actually picking up a down onto Mongrel. That's the team who's landing up at that lake north of them. So kind of probably been hawking them on the rotation, going to be able to figure that one out. Snag also picking up a knock onto Artur there. Heatsy returning the favor, and Rotary and Stormy Right. Kiriachi doing a good job. Quick little exercise in gatekeeping as they're going to turn around. Boyer getting the conversion onto Cammy, making his first final appearance here of the season so far.
And then you're seeing the zone is getting closer and closer, sniffing near that river. Zones 1 through 4 go centralized. They go center as much as possible around that circle. Zones 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're all chaos ensues, and we're seeing that the elims kind of ramp up steadily as it goes into the end game, and we're seeing a lot of players becoming strong closers like the Mongrels pick up a huge percentage of that. But the story is here that we're watching is this trio had a very inconsistent week one, and they made adjustments going into that overnight into day 2, able to get a little bit of their footing. They took that momentum into week 2 and already picking up the first victory out in round 3. So right now, Reese kind of pointed out, though, the inconsistency that's happening. Our winners in these Victory Royale, Sundown, they win a game and then they lose the next one, but it's the trio of Chapix that has been steadily placing really high when able to capitalize and getting a Victory Royale in Game 3.
But we still have time. Don't forget, it is a 12 matches over the course of the 2 days, so there is plenty of room for heroics, people to steal away those games. This is match number 4 here. Hopping on board, and Patrick and Decepto. It's been a little quiet today. They've pretty much been getting eliminated right as those placement points come ticking in, so they just need to tighten up pretty much right around where they are now. I would honestly rather see them head center zone than try and camp around these outside and getting caught up in these fights, because if you can get center on the 4th zone, yes, you're forced to rotate kind of for the half in, half out, but there's generally nobody in there. However, going to take advantage of Stormy Right. We saw that, I believe he was the one who had been rebooted a little bit and had that gray pistol in his inventory, so getting dropped down and taken out, and actually now finding a little bit of room. Kesher gets taken down on the side. Razumi going to be the one who converts on that, but Hen now gets a decent angle here to be able to range some shots with that legendary sniper rifle. However, just going to box up instead. You see Heatsy, Steelix just above him to the side. Boyer and co. trying to tunnel in on the outside and just pack in on this 4th zone as we flip on over to Deceptos.
It kind of looks like it's a dance circle right now. No one wants to get inside the center and show and dance out. Everyone is just hugging the walls, being a bunch of wallflowers. You got to get in there. The center is going to be a strong opposition, but I think it's the water. It's the different elevation that happens. And it looks like Zone avoids Coral Castle completely almost and going to go hang out near Frey Island. And we're taking a look at Future Ken as down Deceptos on your right squad. This is a one trio, and now we're seeing that they are getting lobby focus, and Putrick goes down as well. So it's all up to him, the young god, to be able to clutch as well. We've already seen the old names of Benji clutch. We already see Thomas HC, a rising star. But Hen, we already mentioned the accolades as a solo star. Can he clutch for his trios? Because he's going to have to, as there is a moment from the beams. And look at the kit. He's going to have an opportunity to take height with 4 shockwaves. Looking at everybody else, it looks like it's Hen. It's going to be that one that's going to be so aggressive because everyone else seems to be holding on to heals or shields. And Deceptos has a lot of shields, and Putrick has about 3 med kits. I like the breakdown in inventory here, Sundown.
Yeah, and that elimination from Hen is absolutely massive because the lobby focus coming out, then him getting the shotgun, and then the fight resolving inside of the box means everyone else is going to just stop focusing it. They assume it's done and they're good, but him then being able to throw back his teammates and get the revive, however, missing the shockwave, so they're going to need to see if they can get back together. We're going to hop on board here. Exponential, Astro, and Mexi, they have a decent amount of space and already 5 eliminations trying to spray towards the side. Will be able to pick up Monster there, however, it was Safix down, so no points coming through there. Safix will get a second, so 2 points going over for his team. 47 players left, 19 trios. First placement point comes in at top 17, and then it rides out every single trio, dropping then second and first, get a nice little bump there. As you can see, this team has a nice little tunnel on the side, but the question is, where does that 6th zone pull?
Oh my.
We're going back to the northwest, straight over the water here.
I'm expecting to see a lot of utility combat. This is the full rotation that's going to happen. The safe zone is going through the storm, so let's see who could be able to hold on as Kiriachi goes down into Astro right then and there, and we did see another big name go down, but it's exponential. Mexi Astro putting some big-time performance right now in a top 10 going into this matchup, but look at the huge build up there at height. All that is nullified because they're going to have to go ahead and go over the water. So this is where you're going to see those mega bounces or those mega shockwaves, and the people like Hen holding on to 4 shockwaves are going to utilize that. And we're seeing already on the front side, it's going to be, I'm trying to take a look here, the front side's just out of frame here, but look at all the chaos, and all the chaos is caused by this water zone that is traversing over here, Sundown.
Yeah, you're basically forced to kind of have to full tarp or at least find an uncontested layer. It makes it just that much more difficult, but it also gives you a little bit of an option to play Dolphin on the low ground if you're able to find that space, which it looks like Snappy is doing. We're going to wait for the replay to catch up in just a second here. All the builds going out, and no, instead just in a tarp on the low ground. Going to look for a quick little triangle edit, see if they can't drop a player down here. Harpoon comes out onto the full metal. They get the cone, but nothing else going through. Top 15 now as Chapix gets a knock onto Thomas HC. That means our top team is still up and still getting placement points. Like, again, we talked about their worst placement so far has been 4th. Chapix getting the confirmation onto Thomas. Anas also going down there. So their 2nd place team from last week going to fall. Snappy is going to be all by his lonesome as both of his other teammates will end up falling to the zone there. Top 12 now. Top 30 players remaining, which means Storm Surge is going to turn off as we head into the late game.
It's so impressive to see a team that never was in week 1 making waves and causing chaos in week 2. That's what's going to be awesome throughout the FNCS trios this month. You're going to see so many names that your favorites that are not fighting today that could make it in week 3 and week 4 and cause so much destruction. And now you're taking a look here. No one really has a stronghold at its height as everything is going over the sweaty sands. There goes a play for height. Queasy has it. It is Chapik, Queasy, Milan at height, and an opportunity here, Sundown, to go back to back. But there on the low ground, it's 4ZR and Nate. They have an opportunity who've been so consistent throughout the entire FNCS trios to put a stamp on this game. As another new name, Hen, Putrick, and you're seeing Decryptos still alive, still fighting.
All on the back of Hen. He's clutched up twice, but right now, Queasy in the top right, Snag in the bottom right. The top right is the trio up on the high ground, all relatively working together. The low ground trio is in the bottom right, all hip to hip, and the question is, who closes out the game as we're going into the top 5 trios, and only one player is going to be missing out of this group. Otherwise, it's full trios left as we're going into this 8th zone. Big pickup from Snag there, as Queasy and co are still going to continue to rain down shots, but right now, it's 6 elims for the high ground trio to 5 on the low ground trio. However, Heatsy going down there can Snag make the play as Steelix takes a ton of HP damage. It's all going to be on the back of Snag and whether or not Steelix can make a play. He finds an Elim. He's going to get the Siphon, pop a pair of minis, and get himself back in the game. 9 players left, 4 of them being trios. Heatsy is going to take over there, and now we're down to the final 8.
The reception story is still on for Queasy Milan. They have an opportunity, did not even come through, coming in 34th place in round 2, now with a strong opportunity to go back-to-back. And Hen is still popping off and actually takes down Kezix, who was set down below. So Hen, with the performance right now, all by himself alongside with another solo player in 4CR, but down goes Hen. So now it is Chapix, Queasy, the 2 duos. It's a duo v duo. Low to high. It's been the story throughout this entire time. The thematic battle between the ultimate height and the ultimate low. Going back to back, and already the pop-ups having his Queasy now is low. But yes, the trade happens and Snag gets snagged on out. Then Chapix closes it out. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The back-to-back victory royale for Queasy, Milan, and Chapix.
And we talked about the average placement and just how well they'd been playing. And after that, it's just going to bump up even better, averaging a 2nd place. 1st, 2nd, fourth, and then first again, an additional 34 points coming out. And Chapix, the Swedish lord, right now feels like he is putting the rest of EU to shame, and his teammates backing him up perfectly.
Yeah, you said 34. That was the number again. 34th place in week 1 and round 2. Not making it in. And what a statement made from this trio. Let's go ahead and take it out to the analyst desk to break it all down. Woo!
Thank you guys so much. You guys hit the nail on the head. 34th last week in week number 1. They did not compete because they were just on the outside bubble. This week, they have brought it back. And Sancho said something at the very beginning of the game